Okay, hi there. Today we're going to be running through the first part of this image here, which is the Speedy book. It was made for the Speedy Themes book theme. Now the point of a speed modelling contest is to to model and render an image in 2 hours. So it's a very quick image to make. It's also my first ever recording, so please have patience with me. Okay, we're just going to do the spine to start off with, because it looks like my microphone has actually broken, so I'm using the inbuilt one. And if we go beyond the spine today, my computer will start whining at you and you won't be able to hear a thing I say. Okay, it's good because it will teach us the basic principles of View, so we can get those out the way. Okay, switching over to View now. Okay, you got yourself here a new document. If you've got something open, you just click this button here to make a new document. I'm going to show you the basics of the windows. Here we have how everything turns out. Here we've got the top view, what it looks like from the top. Here we've got what it looks like from what we consider our side at the start of the project. Here we've got what it looks like at the front from the start of the project. Of course, if we move the camera around, these will not change, which makes it both useful and annoying sometimes. Okay, now if we have a look in, I'm just going to open up an example. There we go, nice cube will do. Here, if you spin here, it spins around like a ballerina. I'm going to switch over here. See where my mouse is? That's what I call a material sphere. But if we could click here, we come up into this special little thing, which is amazing and awesome. But here we can see the rotations. Now you can see that moving there? We're spinning it around like a ballerina in that window. Over here in side view, when we move it like this, well, I'm just going to make a new cube because you can't really see it very well there. Actually, no, I might just move everything back to how it was. Yeah, a bit easier. Okay, here, if we fiddle around with this, we're changing the pitch. Just going to change that back to 0. And over here, when we fiddle around with this, we're playing with the roll. Okay, that's just showing you exactly how everything moves. I'm also going to set up something, because if we don't set it up now, it'll be really annoying when we accidentally render it for no reason later. Okay, render options. Now, I like rendering in Final, because there are some details which will get missed in preview. Okay, now I use the internal renderer because, well, with a little project like this, there's not much point in linking it up. You can do it, but it does take a lot of time for not much effort. Render screen means that it won't just render in this image here, like in this little window there. It'll actually come up in its own screen. If you want to render it faster, like I say, if it's a really big image, you can use render off screen, and that'll do, well, exactly what it says. You just won't have to think about putting it up on the screen at the same time. Now over here you can see we've still got it quite small. That in fact I believe is the same size as the standard window here, this area that we can see that isn't greyed out. I'm going to change that to 800 by 600 simply because it's bigger and easier at the time. Later on we will change the ratio, so yes, just keep an eye on that. Just press OK. Now the preview window, we can see exactly what's going on. We've got absolutely nothing there, so we can see nothing, which is very good. You do occasionally come across occasions when there are things that are left behind. They aren't showing up in the windows, and yet they're rendering there, and you're like, okay. Anyway, as you can see, I've just added a new cylinder. Well, it doesn't actually look like a spine, but this will be our spine. Okay, I'm going to shrink it. Now, to keep all the proportions uniform while shrinking, we click and drag on one of the corner ones. So that's this one, this one, this one, or this one. Now, clicking and dragging on one of those will ensure that our cylinder retains the same proportions as before. Have a look in all the windows. See, they all shrink. I'm just going to shrink that right down. I'm going to rotate it, but instead of free rotating, which will get me weird decimal places here, I'm going to click on here and type in 90. That will ensure that it's perfectly aligned with the ground, or what we consider the ground plane at the moment. I'm just zoomed in a little bit there, moving over a little bit, and I'm stretching it out so it's nice and long and skinny. Okay, that's the length of it. I think that should be fine for the length. Might actually shrink that a little bit. Again, this part is up to your own discretion. There we go. Now, this is, I'm looking at the front view now. Well, it's a little bit round for a book spine, isn't it? So I'm going to drop that down a little bit. Now, you can see here the big difference between the corner ones and the middle ones is that when I move this up and down, it only changes shape, size in that one direction. Same would happen if I did this, see? So I'm going to use this top one here, just squish that down. There we go. Now if we look at from here down, it does look kind of like a spine now, so I might move that in a bit. I think I forgot to do that. Might budge it up. There we go. Okay, that to me looks a bit like a spine. So what I'm going to do, you can probably hear the computer starting up there, winding away, is duplicate. See this button here duplicates. We can just wait a moment and a little message will come up. There we go, duplicate. We quickly click on that because otherwise we end up with the scatter window, which is not very nice at this stage. There we go. Now you can see over here that's made a second cylinder. We move this cylinder up, but we're going to do something pretty tricky. We're going to hover our mouse over the Z bar here, and click and drag on it. Now you'll notice that when I do that, no matter where I put the mouse, it only moves in that line. So I'm just going to drag, that's where it was, and I'm just moving it up a little bit. There we go, just like so. That means that this little crescent here, sorry, I'm using a touchback, can you tell? Is going to be our spine. So I'm just moving that over like so. So it'll cut off the edges thoroughly. Now here's the really important bit, is that we have to click on the original and then click on the next one. That we have to do in that order, because if we do it the other way around, we'll end up with the wrong things being cut out of the wrong thing. This button here makes the Boolean difference. Here we go. Click. And let's have a look. Yeah, you can't really see that in my previous screen, so I'm going to render that out. We've got all that set up, so we can do that quite easily. Here we go. Now yours will hopefully render a bit faster than mine. Now I generally don't use materials at the start of a model. They do slow things down a fair bit. Here we go. Now, here we've got another interesting and rather important thing. See how here and up there we've got little odd bits? That's because our cylinders are exactly the same length. So to fix that up, what we do, I've just pressed escape there to escape from that window. We go up here, there we go, hop back into this window, then we click on this little arrow thing, so like in Windows, like Windows operating system, that will open up your file without opening it. I'm just going to lengthen this. It doesn't matter how much you lengthen it. No one will know if you could lengthen it as far as you like. No one will notice. There we go. I'm just going to render that out again. Poor computer. Yes, I'm definitely going to need to get that microphone fixed. Trust me if I'm getting it from a cheap store, you know. There we go. Okay. I might actually squish that in a bit and make my spine a little bit narrower. You can leave that at whatever dimensions you like. It's just... oops. Now I've just done a big boo-boo. I've only grabbed the one cylinder, but I can do that by, astonishingly enough, pressing the undo button. There we go. That's a very good lesson to learn, is to make sure you've got everything that you want selected before you actually do what you want to do. Here we go. Now that's carefully shrunk. I'm just going to double check that I've got that as fine as I want. There we are. Okay, that's the spine done. Now we open up a new cube. Ta-da! Now by default they open up, well mine do anyway, open up at 60 by 60 by 60 meters, which is good to know in some circumstances. Today it's not really relevant to us, but I've just flattened that, just like we did with the cylinders before. Okay, now I'm going to make it the same length as the spine. There we go. And drop it down. Now this part requires a bit of approximation. I've got to make that as wide as you think a book of its size would be. This is the tricky part. We're going down into the front view window, zooming in, and we're tilting it so that the distance, so it leaves about here and then touches the ground at the other end. So I'm just going to guesstimate that. In the image online that I've got, you'll be able to see that I have actually really guesstimated it. It is wrong, but it's there. Okay, now if we look at the other end, it's just touching the ground. If we go over to the spine, see it's just touching the top there. I'm not completely happy with that, so I'm going to rotate it a little bit there. There we go. And drop it down a bit. Yeah. If it's underneath at the other end, it doesn't really matter because we probably won't be seeing that corner anyway. There we go. Now I'm gonna just going to double check that I've got that. Yeah, I'm just going to double check I've got that low enough. Here we go again. Now you could actually adjust the aspect ratio of the render at this stage, save you a bit of render time rendering empty sky. But it might be a very intelligent idea. Now you can see it's a little bit too high, a little bit too far in there. Well, you will once I got rid of that. There we go. It's a little bit too high and a little too far in there. So I'm going to move that down and a little bit out. Oops, I just deselected it. So I'm going to do that little drop thing. Then I'm going to go over here. And I'm going to free move it. There we go. Know that when you're just clicking and dragging as I did, you won't have it locked to any angle or dimension. Well, you will have it locked to dimension, but you won't have it locked to a specific line. Let's have a look at that. There we go. Now, I'm going to duplicate this cube. Like so. Duplicate. Then I'm going to flip it. I'm using view 8 at the moment, so I can just go over here and click this button very quickly. If you hold it and click, it'll come up orange and it'll do that, which is, it'll be flipping it on this axis instead of the other axis. I'm just going to briefly undo that. There we go. Okay, in view 9 and higher, well, when it becomes higher, you go into edit, from memory it's edit, and then flip, align or flip, and it will have a flip thing you can use. I have done it, I promise. It's just not as immediate obvious as it is in view 8 and in view 7, which is what I actually learnt on. Okay, here we go. You can see I've dragged it over to the other side. That's at the same level as it was on the other side. I'm just zooming in a little bit further so I can try and keep this fairly level with the other side. There we go. I've got the preview render. There we are. And I'm going to adjust the aspect ratio now. I'm going to change it, I think. CinemaScope, how about that? You can see how that's changed. There you go. I'm going to drop the camera down. Now this part, doing this now is simply, well, A, for my own pleasure, and B, for your pleasure. There we are. Render. So we've got a little less time spent on the sky, while a little more time spent on the object itself. There we go. Okay, and there's our book cover. It's nice and simple today. I promise I will get that microphone up and going, but there are some basics. Actually, I might drop down those two rectangles, but apart from that, that's us done for the day. And I will get back to this tutorial as soon as I have my microphone working. There we go.